Up to the sky, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Zay, collectively known as SoCal Uncensored or SCU.
This is Catch, Hook, and Shoot, the worst podcast I've ever been on. Word.
Everybody, welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot, the best podcast you never heard of. My name's Tom. I am your host. Today is Sunday, February the 14th, 2021. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. I want to thank everybody for listening, watching, and subscribing wherever you find podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever that might be. Make sure to check out our website, catchhookshoot.wixsite.com/catchhookshoot. I'm working on a shorter web address. Give me a little time. But you go there, you can find links to, or you can find listen to all the podcasts, watch all the videos, see all the interviews, our photo gallery, all of our merchandise, all that kind of fun stuff, all in one place. Make sure to follow on social media on all platforms. It's at CatchHookShoot. Head to patreon.com/CatchHookShoot, which is just about finished being updated. I'll be uploading some new bonus content, changed up the tiers a little bit, so hopefully next week I'll have an official announcement as to what is on each tier. Got some new stuff, some new merchandise and perks to give away on each of the different tiers we're going to have, so stay tuned. Like I said, next week I should have a full official update on all of that. Head to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/catchhookshoot, as well as our other web store, catchhookshoot.bigcartel.com, and you can find links to all of that and more on our Linktree, which is Linktree/CatchHookShoot, or if you're watching on YouTube, scan this little QR code right here in the corner of your screen. You find links to everything about the show. And if you ever want to shoot me an email with your questions, comments, suggestions, or anything that's on your mind, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So, yeah, let's kick things off like we always do with our match of the week. And, yeah, it's been a huge week in pro wrestling, to say the least. So, yeah, let's get right to it with the match of the week. Match of the week this week is from AEW Dynamite, and it was the main event of the show, which was Kenta teaming with Kenny Omega, taking on Jon Moxley and Lance Archer. And this was a non-sanctioned, lights-out, no-holds-barred match, and yeah, it was freaking fantastic. These guys just went out there and beat the living hell out of each other, and I loved it. So, yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, definitely go back, check out Dynamite from this past Wednesday. If you're only going to watch one match, watch the main event, Kenta and Omega versus Mox and Archer. Just a fantastic match from these four guys, and it's just, hopefully, just the beginning of the working relationship with New Japan and AEW, and I'll get into a little bit more about that in just a minute with something pretty big that just happened last night on the Impact No Surrender event. So yeah, let's get into that, as well as some other stuff in this week's top 3 highlights of the week, and that is called the 3 Count. First up on the 3 count this week, Darby Allin gets dragged. Yeah, we saw a segment on Dynamite. Tony Schiavone was supposed to be interviewing Sting, and they were interrupted by Team Taz as usual. And they had Darby Allin out in the parking lot in a body bag tied to the back of an SUV. And the last image we saw was the SUV taking off, dragging Darby Allin behind it. So, yeah, and this is all, of course, building to the street fight between Darby Allin and Sting, taking on Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. It's coming up at the next AEW pay-per-view. So they're really doing a good job building to this match, and it's going to be Sting's first time in a match in a few years. So I'm looking forward to it. I am cautiously optimistic. I'm wondering what type of match is it going to be. I mean, obviously it's a street fight, but is it going to be in the ring, live during the pay-per-view, or is it going to be something that's like pre-recorded, possibly out in the parking lot, or, literally in the street, whatever. But I think either way, with these four guys in there, I mean, Ricky Starks and Darby Allin, in my book, two of the top guys in AEW right now. These are guys that are going to be huge in building AEW into the future. Brian Cage, he's right on that list too. One of my absolute favorite independent talents, and I'm loving seeing him on Dynamite every week, especially part of Team Taz. And Sting, of course, one of the all-time greats ever. So I'm really looking forward to this match. Number 2 on the 3 count, Edge tears into the Miz, and it was great. Edge doing a promo on Monday Night Raw, talking about making his decision for which championship he wants to go for at WrestleMania, and gets interrupted by the Miz talking about he's going to cash in and this kind of stuff, and Edge just ripped him to shreds, talking about, he was the first ever Mr. Money in the Bank, and Edge is happy being awesome, and Edge did that 20 years ago. So it was just an awesome promo from Edge. And again, if you haven't checked it out, if you didn't watch Raw, at least go back and check this part out, because it was a very, very good promo from Edge. And number 3 on the 3 count, I just mentioned a little while ago about that working relationship with New Japan and AEW, and apparently that is also going to extend to Impact. At the end of the No Surrender pay-per-view last night, we saw a vignette hyping up Dave Finlay and Juice Robinson. So apparently they are making their way to Impact. Which is huge, because by all accounts, the relationship between Impact and New Japan was not all that great. I mean, you figure Impact basically booted New Japan off of Access TV when Anthem bought Access TV specifically to put Impact on there. So, it's looking like, those doors are opening. And so hopefully this is just the beginning of stuff that we're going to see. I mean, the working relationships between these companies, it just opens up so many possibilities, and I'm really trying not to get ahead of myself, because, I mean, so far all we've seen, which is still huge, is Kenta showing up on Dynamite, and now apparently Juice Robinson and David Finlay are going to be in Impact in some way or another. So if it extends beyond this, I mean, it just opens up a lot of possibilities for crossovers and dream matches and scenarios that you really never thought might happen. Like, I'd love to see the New Japan Bullet Club show up on Dynamite. I'd love to see Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks make a return to New Japan. Juice Robinson and David Finlay, there's history there with them and the Good Brothers. So, just so many possibilities with all this crossover and cross promotion and companies working together. And I would really, I've thought and talked for years about wanting all of the major wrestling promotions to work together. And obviously WWE is not part of this equation, but, so far, look at what we've got. We've got AEW working with the NWA and working with New Japan and working with Impact and working with AAA from Mexico. I mean, there's only a couple of pieces of this puzzle that are missing. I want to see Ring of Honor and MLW jump aboard this train. And hell, if you're going to go for it, go for it. Add CMLL and All Japan and Noah into the mix. I mean, hell, just go balls to the wall and get everybody on board working together. It would be a wrestling fan's dream come true, so like I said, I'm trying not to get ahead of myself. This is just my mind working and stuff that I would like to see, but I'm just going to kind of ride the wave and see where it goes, and not build up my expectations too much and just see what they're going to give us. But I am loving what's going on so far. So let's get into some news and rumors and results for the week, starting off with Monday Night Raw. We saw the return of Shane McMahon, made the announcement of the Raw Elimination Chamber match for the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view coming up. I believe that's next week, actually. On the Raw side, the Chamber match is going to be for the WWE Championship. Drew McIntyre is going to be defending the title inside the Elimination Chamber, And his opponents are going to be Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles, The Miz, and Sheamus. Now, I saw a lot of people kind of trash talking this online about, why aren't they putting somebody new in there and this and that. And, I get that. They did that with Kofi last year, but you got to remember that was a different kind of situation. Kofi was replacing Ali because Ali was hurt at the time. So, it's not quite the same thing. And from what I see, my opinion, this is being used to build on the Sheamus and Drew McIntyre rivalry. I'm fairly certain that's the match we're going to see at WrestleMania. I mean, that's the match I want to see at WrestleMania. Don't know 100% if WWE is going to do it, but that's what I'm hoping for on the Raw side for the WWE Championship. So, this is just, it's a filler pay-per-view. I hate to say that, but it is. It's just to kind of, advance the storylines and keep things rolling between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. So, this is all about Drew and Sheamus. So I wouldn't throw somebody new into that mix because they're just going to get lost in the shuffle. They're not going to win the chamber match, and then people are just going to be complaining more, oh, so-and-so should have won it, or so-and-so shouldn't have been eliminated so quick, and they're being buried because people love that word now, but 95% of them don't even know what it means. So that's my opinion on this. This is being used to build the story between Drew and Sheamus, and it's not going to hurt Randy Orton or Jeff Hardy or AJ Styles or The Miz to kind of, not be huge factors in this match if that's what happens. We saw the New Day pick up a win over Retribution yet again. Not 100% sure where this is going. I mean, for a while there, Retribution was all about trying to recruit Ricochet. Now they're, going against the New Day, which I get that. The Ali and Kofi thing I just talked about from last year when Kofi took Ali's spot, ended up winning the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. So, I mean, there is a story there, but it's just, it's kind of, not kind of, it's secondary right now. There's not a lot of hype behind it. There's not a lot of depth to it right now. So I'm hoping they'll continue building on it because I think Kofi versus Ali is a damn good rivalry and would make for a damn good match. I mean, that would be a good WrestleMania match, Kofi versus Ali one-on-one. So we'll see where that's going. And getting back to that Edge promo, he did say that he will not make his decision until after the Elimination Chamber to see who comes out as champion. And like I said, while Edge was cutting that promo, the Miz and Morrison came out with Angel Garza, of all people. I don't know if he's going to be part of their little crew now, or if he was just with them because his match was up next on the show. But they did come out together, so I mean, Garza kind of fits in there. He's the that arrogant. He's got that arrogant heel vibe, so he does fit with Miz and Morrison. So I'm wondering if that's partnership that we're going to see continue. And Garza did end up losing to Damian Priest, who was accompanied to the ring by Bad Bunny yet again. Pretty sure we're going to see Bad Bunny in a match at WrestleMania. I'd be very surprised if we don't. It's probably going to be Bad Bunny and Damian Priest against the Miz and Morrison, or possibly Angel Garza now maybe thrown into that mix somewhere. So who knows? But so I am 99% certain we're going to see Bad Bunny in the ring at WrestleMania. Keith Lee got a win over Matt Riddle in a very good match. These two in ring are two of the best to come up from NXT recently, and they seem to be being put in pretty good spots. They're both in contention for the United States title right now, and as a matter of fact, after this match, Bobby Lashley attacked both men, and that led to the announcement of a triple threat match at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view for the United States Championship. Lashley is going to be defending against both Riddle and Keith Lee. Lana actually got a win over Nia Jax in a tables match with an interesting spot that ended up as a meme all over the internet, and that's all I'm going to say about it. And then Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton went to a no contest when Sheamus interfered in that one, and that was pretty much it for Monday Night Raw. So let's move on to Tuesday and AEW Dark. Nick Comoroto. Yet again, he is continuing to impress me a lot. I really hope AEW signs him to a contract if they have not already, because he's good. He's one, he could definitely make a name for himself in AEW. So hopefully, we'll be seeing more of him both on Dark and on Dynamite. He had a tag team match, a 6-man tag team match, teaming with the Natural Nightmares, Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall. Like I said, I'm really impressed with Nick Camarado, so hopefully they keep him around for a while. SCU managed to hold on to their winning streak. Now, remember, they did say, or Frankie Kazarian said, the next time SCU loses a match, that's it. The team is done. So far, they're keeping that winning streak alive, but it's going to break down somewhere. AEW is all about the long-term storytelling with all of the little subtleties and stuff, which I've noticed a lot of wrestling fans online do not appreciate. But I do. I like it. I like the storytelling that I'm seeing from AEW on all of their shows, between Dark and Dynamite, and even Being the Elite. Using that as a way to advance some storylines. You have to pay attention. You have to have more than a 4-second attention span, which is a lot to ask from a lot of online wrestling fans. But SCU keeping their winning streak alive, so the team will continue. We saw a promo from Ryan Nemeth. It looks like he's getting a pretty good spot in AEW, or at least being given a good opportunity in AEW. He did get a win over Marco Stunt, which kind of surprised me. I mean, you don't expect to see Marco win a whole lot, but on Dark against Ryan Nemeth, I thought Marco would probably win, but Nemeth did get the victory. And the Dark Order just continues to keep winning on Dark. 10 picked up another victory. Didn't see an appearance from Brody Lee Jr. this time. Was kind of surprised, but maybe he had school. Who knows? And Joey Janela got a win over Jack Evans in the main event on Dark this week in a really good match between those two guys. I mean, really, when it comes to in-ring wrestling, there's not a whole lot bad to say about AEW. There really isn't. I mean, I'm sure if you sat there and picked it apart with a fine-tooth comb, yeah, you could find some stuff to say. But I'm a fan. I'm not a critic. I'm not going to do that. So, but AEW Dark. I enjoy it. It showcases a lot of new talent, a lot of independent talent that you don't get to see on TV a whole lot. So it's a damn good show. So if you haven't checked out AEW Dark on YouTube, give it a chance. I mean, the episodes are pretty long. They typically have between 10 and 15 matches per show. Nobody's saying you got to sit there and watch the whole thing. Just check out a couple of matches. I think you guys will like it, especially if you are wrestling fans of the in-ring product, because it's Dark is not so much about storylines like Dynamite is. It's more about the matches. So if that's your thing, give Dark a shot. So let's move on to some Impact news here. They had their No Surrender pay-per-view just last night, but on Tuesday, this past Tuesday on Impact, we saw the newest member of Decay, which is Black Taurus from AAA. If you've never seen Black Taurus, go check him out, because damn, I've seen Taurus a few times on Warrior Wrestling shows. Now he's apparently a part of Decay and Impact, and he's a great talent out of AAA. Jake Something on Tuesday turned down Violent by Design's offer to join them, which of course resulted in a beatdown for him, and saw a lot of birthday messages to Tommy Dreamer from both Impact and AEW talent, which was really kind of cool. And then was announced on social media, Impact has another show starting up this Tuesday called BTI, Before the Impact. So it's going to be, I guess, kind of like an Impact pre-show in a way, and it's going to be debuting this Tuesday before the regular episode of Impact. So I'll be checking that out. I'm curious to see what that's all about. And so let's get into some of the results here from No Surrender. Decay, with their newest member, Black Taurus, did pick up the win over Triple XL and Tennille Dashwood. Brian Myers and Hernandez got the win over Eddie Edwards and Matt Cardona. Some highlights from that online, and we did see a confrontation between Cardona and Brian Myers. That was pretty cool. So I'm hoping they're going to continue that little feud, because I think that'll be pretty good. Jake Something got the win over Cody Deaner, but of course caught another beatdown at the end of that match. Josh Alexander got a victory in the Triple Threat Revolver match. And if you're not familiar with what the Triple Threat Revolver concept is, it was something that Impact just introduced. It's basically an 8-man match. Started off, as a triple threat, 3 guys in the ring, and as a person gets pinned, another one of the 8 men enters the ring. And they keep doing that until all 8 men have gotten in. Everybody in the match was Josh Alexander, Ace Austin, Blake Christian, Chris Bay, Daivari, Suicide, Trey Miguel, and Willie Mack. And Josh Alexander was victorious in that one, so he is now the #1 contender for the X Division title. Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz managed to retain the Knockouts Tag Team Championship in a Texas Tornado match against Havoc and Nevaeh, and this was a Texas Tornado no DQ match. So Fire and Flava still the Impact Knockouts Tag Team Champions. TJP retained the X Division Championship against Rohit Raju. Jordan Grace, Jazz, and ODB got the win over Deonna Purrazzo, Kimberly, and Susan. Won that match by submission. The Good Brothers are still the Impact Tag Team Champions. They got the win in a triple threat match over Beer Guns and Private Party. And Rich Swann managed to retain the Impact World Championship against Tommy Dreamer. And at the end of that match, Moose came out and attacked both guys and stood there holding the Impact World title over his head. So, Moose versus Rich Swann is coming. I'd be surprised if that match is not the main event of the next pay-per-view coming up for Impact. And then, of course, I already talked about, we saw the video about David Finlay and Juice Robinson making their way to Impact from New Japan. So I'm really looking forward to this one. So let's move on to AEW Dynamite. TNT Championship match kicked off the show. Darby Allin versus Joey Janela. This was the match of the week until the main event came up on Wednesday night. But great match between Darby and Janela. Darby Allin did retain the title. We saw a segment with Sammy Guevara and MJF backstage. Sammy Guevara again telling MJF, I know what you're doing, and, this and that. He's trying to take over the inner circle and that kind of thing. And, when MJF went to leave the room, he picked up his phone, and it appeared he was recording the conversation, and gonna present it to Jericho. That was the implication, gonna present it to Jericho like Guevara is the one who's trying to take over the Dark Order and get rid of Jericho. So, Guevara threw MJF's phone against the wall, punched him in the gut, and of course MJF was going around the rest of the show talking about having broken ribs and things like that, and then we saw a tag team match with Lee Johnson and Cody Rhodes picking up the win, and Lee Johnson actually got the pinfall in that match, so that is his first victory in AEW. Got the pin on Peter Avalon, and during that match, or at the beginning of that match, it was made mention that Arn Anderson's son Brock was at ringside and that he is training to be a wrestler. So we could see another Anderson entering the wrestling ring, and I got no issue with that. I mean, the Andersons, even though they're not really all brothers or anything, have a great legacy of being some just amazing pro wrestlers, and I'm not thinking Arn is gonna, Arn's son is going to be anything less. So I'm very interested to see him when he debuts in the ring. After that match, there was an interview with Lee Johnson up on the stage with the Nightmare Family, and QT Marshall didn't look real happy during that interview segment, maybe because Lee Johnson didn't mention his name. He talked about Cody and Brandy and Dustin, training him and that kind of thing. And I'm not thinking intentionally, but kind of snubbing QT in the background there. So QT, they could be building something up to a little QT Marshall and Lee Johnson feud coming up, which I'd be happy to see that. We saw a backstage promo with the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers, which somehow led into the Young Bucks this coming week defending the AEW World Tag Team titles against Santana and Ortiz. So, Yeah, I'm not thinking they're going to take the titles off the Bucks just yet, but that should be a damn good tag team match with those guys. And then Jericho and MJF picked up a win over the Acclaimed, all the while, like I said, MJF trying to, garner sympathy for his broken ribs, quote unquote. And after the match, Sammy Guevara came out, got on the microphone, and quit the Inner Circle because of MJF. He told Jericho, I told you December 9th or whatever it was, that one more thing from MJF and I was done. Well, I'm done. I quit the Inner Circle. And an interesting little detail, like I said, those little nuances that AEW is so good at. When Guevara left the ring area, he left through the babyface tunnel. If you watch AEW, they've got the two separate tunnels. Babyfaces come out of one side, heels come out of the other. And so, when Guevara left the ring area, he left through the babyface tunnel. So I'm thinking, we are seeing a babyface turn from Sammy Guevara. And, so the Inner Circle is starting to fall apart a little bit. I'm fairly certain MJF will be taking it over at some point, and Jericho will be turning babyface as well. He already gets a huge babyface reaction for his entrance, with everybody singing along with his entrance music with Judas. So, it just seems natural that would happen at some point. Saw another backstage segment with Hangman Page and Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy convincing Hangman to sign a contract with him, but what Matt Hardy did not see was that when he turned his back, Hangman tossed Matt Hardy's contract to the side and pulled his own out of his pocket. So I'm wondering what he got Matt Hardy to sign. So I'm sure that will play out over the next several weeks. We had the first match in the Women's World Championship Eliminator Tournament. Thunder Rosa got a win over Layla Hirsch in a really good match. I am becoming a big fan of Layla Hirsch in AEW. If you've not seen her, she's had a number of matches on Dark. She's been on Dynamite a couple of times, and she is a badass. Honestly, she's a great fighter. So, if you haven't checked her out, she's another one to keep an eye on. But, Thunder Rosa did get the victory in that one, so she'll move on in the tournament. We found out that the Japan side of the tournament will be this Monday. The first round will be on AEW's YouTube channel. So I'll definitely be checking that one out and have the results for you next week for that one. And then we get to the main event. We saw Jon Moxley come to the ring with the IWGP United States Championship belt for the first time on AEW TV. So he was acknowledged as the IWGP US Champion. He had the belt with him. So that right there, tells you, that door with New Japan is open, because, that belt appearing on TV, I would assume, is solely at New Japan's discretion as to whether or not they can show it on television. So, first time ever, Mox with the United States title on AEW TV, which was really cool. Kenta and Omega did get the victory over Moxley and Archer in this one, with some help from the Good Brothers. No surprise there. Saw Jake the Snake get involved in the match as well, which was pretty cool. Remember, this was a no DQ, lights out, falls count anywhere type match. We saw them fighting in the kitchen areas and throwing literal potatoes at each other, which was entertaining to say the least. But Kenta and Omega did get the victory over Moxley and Archer. So let's move on to some NXT news here. And NXT this week was all about building to Vengeance Day, which is coming up later on tonight. The Dusty Cup finals have been set. We saw a interesting segment with Johnny Gargano and Kushida. Gargano basically trying to sell that his arm is broken from the attack by Kushida last week, which William Regal, not going for that one. Kushida showed up in the ring behind Gargano, tried to snatch the North American title out of his hand, and, of course, Gargano with his bad arm was yanking back on it. So, that match is still going on tonight at Vengeance Day. Kushida had a match against Austin Theory, which he was victorious, and of course we saw another appearance from Dexter Lumis. I'm not sure what the deal is with Dexter Lumis and how he fits into this. It appears he's going after Austin Theory for whatever the reason might be. So, I'm a big fan of Dexter Lumis. I love the character that he's got in NXT. So I'm definitely following, whatever's going on with him. We had a lot of, like I said, a lot of build up to the Vengeance Day event coming up later tonight. We had videos from all the participants in the Women's Championship Triple Threat match. Another video about between Finn Balor and Pete Dunne. The end of the show was hyping up every single match, showing face-offs between all of the people involved. Xia Li had another kind of a squash match against Cora Jade, but an interesting little note here, we saw Kacy Catanzaro and Caden Carter at the beginning of the match trying to, I guess, talk sense to Xia Li, saying this isn't her, and getting in the face of the hooded figure at the top of the ramp that seems to be pulling all the strings. And of course, Kacy and Caden ended up getting the crap kicked out of them by Xia Li as a result. We saw Scarlett backstage talking to William Regal, basically letting him know that, next week time is up for Santos Escobar. So we're going to see Escobar versus Karrion Kross next week. We saw another vignette from Imperium, and it seems like Walter is coming into NXT. So I'm really hoping that we're going to see that Walter versus Finn Balor match or rivalry that was starting to get built up before the pandemic hit. Then we saw the return of Cameron Grimes, and apparently he's rich now. He pulled up in a Lamborghini and threw like $30,000 into the ring, and said he invested in GameStop and that whole stock market thing that happened a couple of weeks ago. I don't know. Nothing against Cameron Grimes as a wrestler. I think he's pretty damn good. I've just never been a fan of any of the characters that he's had. And, maybe that's just an extension of himself. Maybe, he's one of those guys there. It's just his real personality, just with the volume turned up. If that's the case, that's cool. It doesn't really do anything for me. So, I can't say I'm a huge Cameron Grimes fan. But like I said, I take nothing away from, what he does in the ring, because he definitely is very, very good at what he does. I'm just not a fan of his gimmick. So, but I'll get into a full preview and some predictions for Vengeance Day here in just a couple of minutes. But let's move on to MLW Fusion for right now. ACH picked up a win over Brian Pillman Jr. and was attacked by Team Filthy after that. Of course, Team Filthy supposedly is responsible for ACH's broken ribs that he's been dealing with the last couple of weeks, which ended up kind of costing him in his World Championship match that he had against Jacob Fatu a couple of weeks ago. And the Von Erichs did come out to make the save, so I'm pretty sure we're going to see that six-man match somewhere down the line, Team Filthy against the Von Erichs and ACH, because, of course, Filthy Tom Lawler, the man who cost the Von Erichs the World Tag Team titles to Los Parks a couple of weeks ago. Savio Vega had his answer for Selena De La Renta regarding the sale of his IWA promotion in Puerto Rico, basically saying it is not for sale. And, Selena not happy about that. So coming up on Filthy Island next week, it will be Mil Muertes versus Savio Vega in an Aztec jungle fight. Not sure what that is, but I'm gonna watch, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna get pretty violent with those two guys, Mil Muertes and Savio Vega. That's just gonna be a fight. So I'm here for that one. Contra was supposed to have a match against Injustice. Of course, they attacked before the match, so it pretty much ended up not happening. So I'm sure that that rivalry is far from over. And Leo Rush defeated the Laredo Kid to win the AAA Cruiserweight Championship. So Leo Rush now has unified the MLW Middleweight title and the AAA Cruiserweight title. Now this again kind of goes back to what I was talking about with the the working agreements between promotions. Like I said, AAA already has a working agreement with AEW. I mean, Kenny Omega's still the AAA Mega Champion, and obviously AAA working with MLW, because now you've got Leo Rush as the AAA Cruiserweight Champion. So, there's definitely possibilities there. I'd love to see MLW in the mix with New Japan and Impact and AEW. So, hopefully that's something that we'll see sometime in the future. And then talking about Filthy Island next week, we're going to see I'm calling an early contender for match of the week, Low Ki taking on King Mo. This is just going to be a slugfest with these two guys. They've had matches in the past that have been great, so this is going to be no exception. So I cannot wait to see this. Low Ki, has been one of my favorite independent wrestlers for years. So I cannot wait to see Low Ki and King Mo just tear each other apart. Honestly. Moving on to Ring of Honor for this week, Tracy Williams picked up a win over Cheeseburger in a Pure Rules match, and I say it every week, I love the Pure division in Ring of Honor. Some of the best mat-based submission-style wrestling you're ever going to see. If you're into that style of wrestling like I am, you need to be watching Ring of Honor, because they've been having Pure Rules matches every single week. The Pure champion is Jonathan Gresham, who, for my money, is the best wrestler in the world. As far as just pure mat wrestling skill, Jonathan Gresham is the best, in my opinion. And then we had an interesting eight-man tag team match with the Briscoe brothers teaming with PCO and Brody King, taking on LFI and Flip Gordon. It was originally supposed to be LFI with Kenny King, because he's a member of that group, but Kenny King, for whatever reason, not there, so Flip Gordon took his place, and this one ended up in a no contest, just guys fighting all over the place, and tables and chairs, and it was great. So, check that one out too. If you're not a regular Ring of Honor watcher, just check it out. Give it a chance. Watch the one from this past week. It's only an hour-long shows, typically 2 matches, sometimes 3, but this week, like I said, Tracy Williams versus Cheeseburger and Pure Rules. And the Briscoes, PCO, and Brody King versus LFI and Flip Gordon ended in no contest. Just all around a great show. So let's go to NXT UK. Meiko Satomura made her debut, picked up a win against Isla Dawn in a pretty damn good match. And then let's see. Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster got a victory over The Hunt. Now, The Hunt is typically Primate and Wild Boar, but this week it was Primate and Eddie Dennis, who is basically their manager. So, but yeah, Webster and Andrews did pick up the win there. So, moving on to Friday Night Smackdown. It was originally announced by Adam Pearce that Roman Reigns was supposed to be defending the Universal Championship in his own or on SmackDown's Elimination Chamber match, and Roman basically came out and said, no, I'm not going to do that. So it's the way it's going to work is there is going to be a SmackDown Elimination Chamber match, and the winner of that match will get a Universal Championship match immediately after the Elimination Chamber. Just a great dick move by Roman Reigns, great heel move by him, flexing his muscle, his stroke, his power, whatever you want to call it, and just taking advantage and defending, saying he's going to defend his title basically against an opponent who's already had the crap beaten out of them by 5 other guys, and so we found out right away Adam Pearce named 2 men who are going to be in that Elimination Chamber match. The first one was Jey Uso, which Roman Reigns was not happy about, and the second one was Kevin Owens, which Roman was really not happy about. Got right in Adam Pearce's face. And then we had a couple of qualifying matches throughout the rest of the show, tag team matches actually, which was kind of interesting. Sami Zayn and Baron Corbin defeated Rey and Dominic Mysterio, so they qualified. And then Cesaro and Daniel Bryan defeated Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, so they qualified. So your SmackDown Elimination Chamber matches: Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, Cesaro, and Daniel Bryan. Not a bad group of guys. My early pick, I'd say probably Kevin Owens will get the win, and then, again, get the hell beat out of him by Roman Reigns after he's already had the hell beat out of him by everybody else in the chamber. Nakamura versus Big E for the Intercontinental title ended in no contest when Apollo Crews interfered, so I'd say Apollo Crews is has officially turned heel. So we may see a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title at some point with Big E, Apollo Crews, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Seth Rollins made his return The entire SmackDown roster was around the ring. Rollins made his entrance, started giving his little talk, kind of made it sound like he was going to be going the babyface route, and then did a complete 180 in basically saying, he's the one that should be leading SmackDown, and everybody needs to embrace the vision. Apparently, that's going to be his new thing. And the entire locker room walked out on him at that point, except for Cesaro, who stayed there for a minute, but then decided, he had heard enough too, started to walk out, and Seth attacked him. So that, looks like that could be a rivalry that's coming up for SmackDown pretty soon. So I'm definitely a fan of that one. Cesaro and Rollins could put on some just ridiculous matches. Bayley got a win over Liv Morgan. Of course, Billie Kay had her nose in there a little bit, still trying to work her way into the Riot Squad, and just caused enough of a distraction that Bayley ended up getting the victory. The Street Profits got the win over Gable and Otis, and then we saw a promo from Sasha Banks basically saying that she wants to be the one to fight Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, and I'm that's the one I'm hoping for too. I want to see that match, and of course they were interrupted by the women's tag team champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, which led to another little incident for Nia that we're not going to talk about. And then the main event was that tag team match between Cesaro and Daniel Bryan taking on Rude and Ziggler, which Cesaro and Bryan won. And then we just kind of saw a big brawl between all of the Elimination Chamber participants until Kevin Owens came out, stunned everybody, and that was pretty much the end of SmackDown for the week. So moving on to 205 Live, couple of 205 Live is another one. It's not heavy on storyline. It's more about the in-ring. It's typically a half-hour show. You usually get 2 matches. But, it was, I'm a fan of 205 Live just because of the wrestling that you get to see. Like this week we had Ashanti the Adonis and Mansoor picking up the win over Bali Rise, which is the kind of hybrid team of the Bollywood Boys and Ever Rise. Interesting little dynamic there. And then Jake Atlas got a win over Tony Nese, which was a damn good match. So, again, if you haven't checked out 205 Live lately, give it a look. It's a half an hour. Take a half an hour out of your week and check out 205 Live, because you get to see guys that are not on, that don't get a whole lot of TV time on like Raw or SmackDown or NXT, the main shows. And, these guys go out there and they put on some damn good matches. So, again, if you're a fan of the in-ring product like I am, 205 Live, Ring of Honor, AEW Dark, those are the shows you need to be checking out. So, hopefully check them out, enjoy them. Hell, send me a message. Let me know what you think of them. If you haven't watched them and you're going to check them out on my recommendation, first of all, thank you for respecting my opinion. And, let me know what you think, because there's some pretty damn good shows. You may not know everybody who's on them, but again, if you're a fan of wrestling, I think you're going to like them. So give them a look. Some good news for New Japan fans. New Japan debuted their new weekly show on the Roku channel, and they came out swinging with this one. They first few shows that they put up are Wrestle Kingdom 14. So check them out. They're on the Roku channel. It's free. It's not a subscription service. It's on the Amazon Fire TV, and I'm sure you can get it on whatever other streaming devices you might have. It's just called the Roku channel. You download it like any other app, and find the New Japan section on there, and it's freaking awesome. So, if you're a fan of New Japan and you're not subscribed to their streaming service and you've been missing seeing them on TV, download the Roku channel, because that's what I did, and I'm not at all disappointed with it. So let's get into the previews and predictions for NXT Vengeance Day coming up later on today. Starting off, we've got a triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship. Io Shirai defending against Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez. I'm expecting this to be a really good match. I like the way that they've built this rivalry with these 3 women. So I'm thinking Io is probably going to retain. That's going to be my guess, is that Io Shirai is going to, one way or another, retain the championship. In the finals of the Women's Dusty Cup, you've got Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez taking on Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. And it was also announced the winner of the Women's Dusty Cup will receive a Women's Tag Team Championship match at some point in the future. So I'm picking Ember and Shotzi. Those are my probably my two top favorites in the NXT Women's division. So I'm picking them to win the first ever Women's Dusty Cup. On the men's side, the Men's Dusty Cup Finals is MSK, formerly known as the Rascals, taking on the Grizzled Young Veterans. This is the second year in a row that the Grizzled Young Veterans are in the finals of the Dusty Cup. Based on that, I think they're probably going to be the ones to win. I want MSK to win. Let me be clear about that. That's who I want to win, is MSK. But I have a feeling it's going to be the Grizzled Young Veterans. And again, the winner of the Men's Dusty Cup will also get a shot at the NXT Tag Team Championships at some point in the future. So it's hard because MSK is brand new. You don't know, brand new in WWE. You don't know if they're going to push them that hard right out of the box. I mean, they've already pushed them to the finals. Why not just, go all the way with it? So, to hell with it. I'm picking MSK to win the Men's Dusty Cup. And then we've got for the North American Championship, Johnny Gargano defending against Kushida. I'm picking Kushida in this one. I think we're going to see a new NXT North American champion. And then the main event, the one I am looking most forward to, and another one that's a major contender for match of the week next week, Finn Balor defending the NXT Championship against Pete Dunne. These guys, I say this for a lot of matches, but these guys are going to beat the hell out of each other the same way that Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly have their last couple of matches. So, and this one, it's hard to pick a winner, especially if they're going to start working the program with Walter and Finn Balor like I'm hoping they do. Will it be a title for title thing, or are they going to take the NXT title off of Finn Balor and have him go after the NXT UK title? Who knows? But, it's hard. Like I said, it's hard to pick a winner. I'm a big fan of both guys, and I'd love to see Pete Dunne, as a champion again. I mean, he held the NXT UK title for close to 2 years, so I'd love to see him as a champion. But I think I'm going to go with Finn Balor to retain in this one. So the only championship that I'm expecting to change hands is the North American title. I think that's going to go to Kushida. So getting into a little miscellaneous news here, Davey Boy Smith Jr. or Harry Smith, whatever you prefer, did reveal in an interview this past week that he has had talks with WWE about returning. Of course, he's most recently been in MLW, and he's also been kind of a regular on Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, which I'll get into that in a second here. But he didn't have the best run in WWE his first time out, but he left and definitely upped his stock a lot. In New Japan and MLW, he's been a multiple-time tag team champion between, New Japan. He was also NWA tag team champion, teaming with Lance Archer as the Killer Elite Squad. They were, IWGP and NWA tag team champions. He was a tag team champion in MLW. So, he's definitely made a name for himself outside of WWE. So hopefully if he does go back, it's one of those situations where, somebody didn't have a great first run, they left the company, upped their game quite a bit, comes back and just kills it, kind of in the same vein as like a Drew McIntyre. So we'll have to wait and see. So now, this is normally the spot in the show where we would throw it over to Charlie G for the Indie Cut, but Charlie is taking today off because we've been getting a lot of snow here in Chicago, and Charlie's side hustle is doing snow removal for his neighbors and stuff. So, he is basically, worked himself into a coma, so he needs the rest. So, just a couple of quick notes here. Keiji Muto, better known to American wrestling fans as the Great Muta, is the new GHC heavyweight champion, and that is the top title for for Pro Wrestling Noah out of Japan. So Muda is now one of only 3 men to ever hold the GHC, All Japan Triple Crown, and IWGP Heavyweight Championships. So that's no small feat. So congratulations to the great Muda. And, to make it even bigger news, I mean, he's 58 years old and he, has won yet another world championship. So, great Muda, one of the all-time greats in the business, period, ever, anywhere. So, and he is once again a world heavyweight champion. Jerry Lawler actually had a match this week on the independent circuit against Leatherface, of all people. Now, the original Leatherface was the man who was known in WWE as Corporal Kirshner back in the day. But this version of Leatherface, Lawler did win the match, and he unmasked Leatherface afterwards. Turned out to be Doug Gilbert. If anybody's a fan of ECW or even the USWA from back in the day, Doug Gilbert should be a familiar name for you. Was also revealed this week online. WWE has signed Blake Christian, which is kind of interesting because he was in the Impact No Surrender show tonight or last night. But WWE now has signed 5 out of my favorite 6 Warrior Wrestling alumni in MSK, Des and Wentz, Blake Christian now, Ben Carter, and Alex Zane. So, if WWE plays their cards right, these are guys that can, they all have huge upside and they can all be major players in WWE. Hopefully, I just want to see WWE do right by these guys because I've seen them live and they are just so damn good. So hopefully, we see a lot of these guys going forward in WWE. I mean, Ben Carter's been doing great in NXT UK. So, hopefully this, and MSK obviously doing great in NXT. So hopefully the same is going to hold true for Blake Christian and Alex Zane whenever we see them make their debuts. And I mentioned a little while ago, talking about Davey Boy Smith Jr., has been participating in Josh Barnett's Bloodsport promotion. Well, we found out he will be participating yet again on February 20th in a match against Jon Moxley. Damn, that is going to be a bloodbath. So, that's the few independent tidbits for this week. So let's keep it rolling along into the next segment of the show. We are up to the finals of the Warrior Wrestling Tag Team Championship Tournament, and that is coming up in the Fantasy Booker. All right, so like I said, we're in the finals of the fictional Warrior Wrestling Tag Team Championship Tournament. It is the Rascals, Des and Wentz, going up against Ego Anthony and Sam Adonis. This match screams Warrior Wrestling with these 4 guys. I actually spoke to Steve Tortorello, the promoter for Warrior Wrestling, and told him about this little fantasy tournament that I was doing, and he loved it. I told him how the whole thing was booked out, and he thought it was great. He thought it fit perfectly with what Warrior's all about, with the regulars who wrestle on Warrior shows. And I told him what the final was, and he, like I said, he loved it. And this is something that could have potentially happened prior to the Rascals signing with WWE and becoming MSK. But still, it's still a great match, even in the fantasy booking world. Des and Wentz taking on Ego Anthony and Sam Adonis, and at the end of the day, I gotta give this one to my boys, the Rascals, Des and Wentz. If this particular tournament was to go down, I honestly believe they would have been the first ever Warrior Wrestling Tag Team Champions. If they were still on the independent scene. So. That's the finals of the Warrior Wrestling Tag Team Championship Tournament. Rascals picking up the win over Ego Anthony and Sam Adonis, of course, with Frank the Clown in the corner. I mean, the match itself would have been amazing. It would have been all over the place. You would have seen the mat wrestling. You would have seen the high flying. You would have seen the strong style wrestling. You would have seen the underhanded, sneaky heel tactics from Frank the Clown and Ego Anthony and Sam Adonis, and you would have seen, I'm sure Trey Miguel would have been there to counter Frank the Clown, and you would have seen the Rascals doing all the crazy, insane shit that they're known for. So it just would have been an all-around fun, entertaining, great wrestling match with these guys. But in the end, I do think the Rascals would pull it out and would end up being the first ever Warrior Wrestling Tag Team Champions. So that wraps up the tournament for the Fantasy Booker. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I know I enjoyed putting it together. Got something new starting with the Fantasy Booker next week, but I'll get into that in a few minutes. Before that, though, let's get into the final segment of the show here, and where I espouse a bit of an unpopular opinion typically, and I don't think these next few weeks are going to be any exception, because I'm counting down my top 10 WrestleMania matches of all time, and I'm doing that in the weekly hot take. Like I said, I'm counting down my top 10 WrestleMania matches of all time leading into this year's WrestleMania event. And this week we are at number 9. Number 9 on my list is from WrestleMania 18 in 2002, Hulk Hogan versus The Rock. Now, obviously I'm not talking about the technical aspect of this match, but this is a dream match. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what level of wrestling fan you might be. You know who Hulk Hogan is, you know who The Rock is, and this is a match that, a lot of people thought would never take place, and even though this was not the last match, this was the main event of the show. And the fans in attendance went nuts for it. I mean, the fans turned Hulk Hogan babyface in the course of this match. Kind of the same way that they did for Steve Austin in WrestleMania 13. There was no way Hogan was leaving this match still being a heel. You had the dueling chants of Hogan and Rocky, and it was just a wrestling fan's dream in that era. At the time, it was the top two names in the business, Hulk Hogan and The Rock. And it's, what else can you say about it? It's a dream match. And like I said, I'm not talking about the technical wrestling aspects of this match with these two guys. I'm just talking about the importance and the significance of this match in the history of WrestleMania, because, it's something you'll never see again. I mean, yes, they wrestled each other after this, but it was the first time it ever happened, and it was just, you could just tell it was something special. And that's what WrestleMania is all about, those special moments like that. When you saw Hogan and Rock just standing there in the ring, just facing each other, and then they're looking opposite directions at the crowd as the crowd's, the chants are going back and forth between Rocky and Hogan, and it just, it was just an awesome thing to witness. Even watching it on TV like I was. So, that's my number 9 all-time greatest WrestleMania match, Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, WrestleMania 18, 2002. So that is going to pretty much wrap us up for this week. But I do want to make mention a couple of things real quick. I've decided starting this Wednesday during AEW Dynamite, I am going to do a live watch-along on Twitch. I'm going to start making better use of my Twitch channel, start actually streaming. I mean, when I did the Royal Rumble watch-along, got a great response to it, bigger than I expected, and had a lot of fun doing it. So, I'm going to try to do it a little bit more regularly to get some more practice at it. So I figured what better time to do it than every Wednesday during Dynamite. And it's going to be the same kind of thing. I'm not going to be streaming Dynamite on my Twitch channel. It's just going to be me, talking about what's going on, giving my opinions. Hopefully people jump in, join the discussion, that kind of thing. Exactly like what we did for the Royal Rumble. So, go over to twitch.tv/catchhookshoot and join in the conversation, watch along with AEW Dynamite, have some fun, talk some wrestling, and yeah, hopefully it works out and it'll become a regular thing. Because like I said, I do want to start getting more use out of my Twitch channel because I had an awesome time when we did the Rumble watch along. Talking about getting more use out of things, another thing I'm going to start paying more attention to is my Snapchat. You can find me on there at CatchHookShoot. I've had the account since the show's been around. I just haven't gotten much use out of it, and I've kind of made a decision this year for 2021. I'm going to, try to build the show up more, make use of some avenues that I haven't in the past or that I haven't taken full advantage of in the past, like Twitch, like Snapchat, and just, do my best to really, really build things up. I'm going to work on, hopefully trying to get more interviews on the show. I'm compiling a list of potential interviews. Some of them I'm reaching a little high for, but hey, what the hell? What's the worst that could happen, right? So, yeah, definitely keep an eye out. There's going to be a lot of cool new stuff coming. So, hope you guys enjoy some of the things that I've got planned, and I'll definitely be, rolling that stuff out in the next coming weeks. And also next week, brand new fantasy booker segment starting up. I'm going to be starting my own fantasy wrestling company, the Catch, Hook, and Shoot Wrestling. So, yeah, I'm going to just basically see how far I can take it. I don't have it planned out too far in advance. Like, next week is going to be me drafting my roster, and, I'll break down how I'm going to be doing things with it. And, again, it's fantasy booking. It's exactly what the segment says it is. This is just my own mental process of what I think would be cool to see in a wrestling company. So, that's going to be starting off next week. Like I said, I'll be drafting my roster, and should be interesting. I've got some ideas how I want to crown my first champions and stuff like that. I'm borrowing some ideas here and there from, taking elements that I like from other companies and trying to put my own twist on them and things like that. So it should be fun. I don't know how long it's going to go for. It may last a few weeks. It may only last a couple of weeks. Who knows? We'll see what happens. So it should be interesting. So once again, I want to thank everybody for listening, watching, and subscribing on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Head to catchhookshoot.wixsite.com/catchhookshoot, which is our website. You can find all of the podcasts there, all the YouTube videos, interviews, photo gallery, merchandise, pretty much a one-stop shop for everything about the show. Make sure you're following on social media at CatchHookShoot on all platforms. Patreon.com/CatchHookShoot for bonus content, which, like I said, I'll be getting into more detail about that next week as well. I think I've got everything pretty well set, so I'll be rolling that out and telling you guys all about the new benefits and that kind of stuff for Patreon. Head to ProWrestlingTees.com/CatchHookShoot for your t-shirt needs. CatchHookShoot.BigCartel.com for additional merchandise that's not on Pro Wrestling Tees. You can find all that and more on our Linktree, which is Linktree/CatchHookShoot, or scan this QR code right here in the corner of your screen if you're watching on YouTube. And once again, if you ever want to shoot me an email with your questions, comments, suggestions, or anything else that's on your mind, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So with that, I am going to sign off. I hope everybody is having a great week. Hope everybody has a happy Valentine's Day. Enjoy all the wrestling coming up this week, and I will talk to you guys soon.